All right, everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a DIY for making your own corn stalk. This comes into play when you're making your own displays and you want to add a little scenery to it, some corn stalk if you're doing a corn maze, which is kind of how this whole thing got started, actually. There was a person on our group, the Lomax group that we're all a part of, that built a beautiful, beautiful corn maze, and it kind of started a wagon of people, attempting to do this and doing it a little bit differently, and some were really, really great. We kind of briefed through that on another one of my videos. You saw the one that we made, me and my wife. It was almost done in the video, and today we're going to be making the corn stalk for the rest of the platform, which will hopefully complete our corn maze. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to show you how we made our corn stalks. We got a few different messages about that, people wanting to know how we did ours. So today that's what we're going to look at. We're going to start with showing you the tools that we used to create ours and what you would need if you're going to attempt to do your corn stalk this way as well. The first thing, and probably the most important, would be the glue gun. Everybody's got one of these, big, small, it doesn't really matter. I forgot where we got this one, but it's just, you can see it's got some use on it. But it really is the way to go. It's quick, it's easy, and it pushes out just enough glue for the corn stalk to really hold things together without getting too messy. So that's the first thing. The second thing, let me grab it here, is this wire that we purchased from Dollar Tree. It comes in two colors in the same pack, red and black. It might be a red orange, but anyway, red and black. For this project, we chose to go with the black, but the red would look phenomenal as well. And for $1, it goes a long way. Most people, building displays are, always on a little bit of a budget, like we are as well. So anywhere we can save, we try to. And you can get the same kind of wire at a hardware store, but this worked just fine, and it was $1. It's done almost our whole platform, and in fact we'll finish it with the same wire that we started with and have some left over. So it's a really good choice. Next on the list is toothpicks. Common household item. You probably have these sitting in your kitchen somewhere. We purchased these two from Dollar Store. It comes with 500 of them. You can see it kind of goes for days in there. More than you'll need for this project. Next on the list would be these top of the corn stalks, which I'm going to show you here in a second. We cut them off of this corn stalk that we purchased from Michael's. They worked phenomenal. It's a good blend we found when making corn stalk. They're kind of large, so you have to cut them down to size. As you can see, I've already cut them off and put them in a bag, and today we'll cut those down to the right size and use those as well. Let me show you where those came from. Not sure if I can fit this in the whole camera here. Let's see. There you go. So it's about a half-length corn stalk we purchased from Michael's. This was probably the most expensive thing in this project. I think it was probably, I don't know, let's see this price tag here, $19.99. You get 20% off. I'm sure there's a cheaper way to find this or use something close enough to work, but this is what we went with. Basically, we cut those tops off that I just showed you from the top of the stalk. They were kind of in this area. And then we're going to use the leaves to create our corn stalk. We're going to pull those off and cut them down to size and mix them in as well. So that's the next thing you'll need, or some, version of this. The beauty of this project is to be able to mix and match and really find something that works for you and the look that you're going for. You can't go wrong. It's art, right? So this is just our interpretation of the corn stalk. So let's move on. The next thing you're going to need is this right here. Excuse my pronunciation, but I think it's raffia, something like that. This is new to me. I just got this when we started this project. I've never even seen this stuff before. It really works well. I don't know if it's like a straw or what it is. Again, I have no experience with this other than when we started this corn stalk project a few days back. But I can tell you that this is the secret to making a real nice corn stalk. At least for us, it was. Again, maybe there's better stuff out there. You know, I'm new to making our own displays and things like that. But for our first attempt, we were very, very happy with it. I think there was 2 different sizes. The first time we bought the half size, I think it was like $6, but it wasn't enough. So we went back yesterday and got the big pack. I think it was like $9-10. Again, if you have a 20% off, that'd be a great time to use it. But this stuff does go a long way. Even the half bag, I mean, it almost completed the full platform of our corn maze that we built. So it really, really stretches. And depending on how much corn stalk you got or you're looking for, the half bag would work just fine. But we wanted to add a little bit extra, and so we thought we would buy a big bag this time and use it on a future project. Okay, so lastly, let me see here. Just some extra glue sticks. These, you can purchase them from Dollar Store. That's the ones that we were normally using. We were at the craft store yesterday, so we bought some extras from there. But again, you know, Dollar Tree is a great place for this kind of hobby. You can always find some, you know, real neat stuff there. And for $1, I mean, come on, right? So just to review, the tools we're going to need are the toothpicks, the glue gun, the wire we spoke about earlier, the top to the corn stalks that we pre-cut off, and the straw stuff, the raffia or whatever that is. I can feel the messages coming in now on that pronunciation. And the corn stalk. So those are the tools we're going to need. Let's get started. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you're going to need a pair of scissors. These are the ones that we've had laying around from past projects. This is going to come into play when you're cutting the straw or the leaves or the top of the corn stalk or whatever it may be. So they're a necessity for this project. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is cut down the leaves. Or I'm assuming that's what these are. They're from the corn stalk, some kind of leaf kind of thing. When it comes to the scale of the size, that depends on what you're going for. For our corn maze, we kind of base it off this windmill, this Spooky Town windmill, and tried to get it, you know, within reason of what that might be like in real life. So use your judgment on that, and based on whatever project you're doing, because the great thing is you know, you can always make them a little bit bigger than you need and cut them down, right? So let's get started with that. These are pretty simple to kind of just pull apart. They kind of flake off really easy and make a nice big mess for you. So let's do that. The secret, again, to making the corn stalk is just variety. It's, you know, making every corn stalk slightly different, more of this, less of that. You can't go wrong. You know, again, it's that whole thing about art, right? It's open to interpretation and your own creative ideas. So it's okay to have some bigger ones, some smaller ones. You know, it doesn't really matter as long as you can get them in, and it'll be just fine. Okay, so there we go. We have our leaves. Next, we'll cut down the little toppers, the little wheat-looking topper things. Let me grab those. So as you can see, some are bigger than others. That's kind of how they come. A little bit of a mixed bag there, so you don't have to exactly cut all of them. And again, you want it to be different size lengths, some bigger, some smaller, right? So to start, I'm just going to chop it right in the middle and do a little pile over here. When it comes to like the little stems and stuff, I leave them on because it helps when you're tying the corn stalk together and the glue and everything. Not all of them are going to have this, but it kind of helps when you do. So something like this, there's no need to cut that. It's a good size already. This one's a little bit taller, but I think it'll be okay. Again, once it's together, you can always chop it a little bit more. These look okay. These are good. This one's slightly long, so we're going to chop that one down just a little bit here, just like that. Okay. Excuse the mess we're making, but we're doing this together. Feel free to follow along. All right, next we're gonna cut the straw stuff. So give me a second here to grab that. And this, again, this is the secret to your corn stalk. You know, I use a lot of this per stalk. It really gives it that authentic feel. But go ahead and count on a mess, because this stuff is very messy as well. So we'll just pull some out to start here. Okay. All right, so it kind of comes out stringy like this. Again, we're gonna kind of cut down to size. Can't go wrong. So let's see. Sometimes they're folded up and you got to kind of untangle them a little bit. If they're really long, I found that wrapping them around your hand and then cutting them as a whole kind of works really well. I'll demonstrate that for you. Very loose because you want it to be good size. A little extra one there. So kind of go like that. And then I just kind of come up here to the top and chop them off. All right, and then we'll cut these as well. Okay, that's enough to start, I think. So we'll separate our piles here, get everything organized. We got a couple singles here, so we'll go ahead and do that technique I was telling you about. Wrap them up, grab your scissors, chop them. And there we go. All right, so there's everything as far as the actual corn stalk goes. We're gonna mix them together. It doesn't really matter which one goes first. I try to put the little topper ones more towards the middle, but that's just my preference. You can put them anywhere you like. So the way we normally start is we grab some leaves. And I can see already that these are a little bit long, so we'll go ahead and just chop those off right there. So you kind of just lay them like that. And then we'll add in our little topper. And then start mixing this in there. Again, you can always cut it down to size. You know, I can see some of these are still a little long. All right, so you end up with something kind of looking like that. I like to kind of mix them and intertwine them a little bit, because then, you know, they would be random if they were just growing freely, right? So, there we go, something like that. Again, with the extras, just feel free to kind of chop it down at different random heights so it doesn't look, you know, all the same. Or do the best you can with that, you know, some shorter ones, taller ones. You know, use your judgment. Okay, so now we're gonna go for the wire. So let me grab that. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I just pulled some, you know, kind of out of the box here. And then what I do is I kind of go a little above the bottom, maybe like an inch and a half above the bottom, an inch above the bottom. Bend the first little edge around and hold it, and then just kind of go like that. Just wind it around. You know, doesn't really matter how many times, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Just enough so it holds. Clip that. Okay, we're gonna set that down, put this back. Let's grab some glue. Sorry about that. Okay. Then we're going to take one of our toothpicks. And the way I like to do this, let's see here, would be the best way. What we're going to do is I'm going to chop a little bit of this off, because what you want to happen is for the toothpick to kind of stick out about halfway. So you want to kind of push it in, you know, about halfway above this black line and have half sticking out, because what that allows is when you go to put it in your display, it will, you know, have something to stick with. So let's go ahead and chop this down now. Make sure you always leave, you know, a little bit left over, right? Because the wire's got to hold. And then we will add on our glue. So let's see here. The way I like to do it is just kind of pile it up a little bit, kind of towards the top initially. There we go. And then once you get a good little glob in there, just kind of shove it in. And it's okay if it runs a little bit, because we're going to put some glue down there anyway. And that's kind of what you end up with, something like that. There it is, sorry. And what I'm going to do now is just add a little glue kind of around that edge, just to kind of help hold everything. And we'll let that dry for a minute. And another thing you can do is add a little bit of glue on the edges of the wire, you know, to help it stick to the corn stalk itself. So we can go ahead and add that. Just a little bit, doesn't take much. And it disappears, by the way, when you put it all together. You can't tell that there's glue on the outside. Let's see. And there you go. That's kind of what you end up with here. So I can see that this is probably a little taller than the other original ones that I made. This also fell out, but that's no big deal. So I'm gonna end up cutting it down probably about like right there. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Again, just randomly, you know, there's no set length or anything. I just try to make it look like they kind of belong together. And there we go. And again, you know, you could do, we used, you know, the topper, you know, you could use a giant topper if you want, you know, a shorter one like this. You know, they all come out a little bit different, and they're going to kind of, you know, break a little bit and stuff, but they'll settle in and kind of close up and things will be fine. Careful with that glue. It goes everywhere initially. But once it dries, you're kind of good to go. That's about the right size too for this platform that I'm working on. So that's kind of how we do it. You know, when the only advice really I have about the assembly process is, you might have noticed this earlier, that when I went to put on the strap, I kind of, you know, broke this one a little bit. Not a big deal, happens. It's not going to make a difference at all. You know, like I said, random is everything with this. But, you know, if you can kind of hold it just a little bit looser when you go to wrap it, you kind of got to feel that out. As you can see, you know, I broke a little bit of it, but again, no big deal. The idea with this is that when you put a bunch of them together, it really looks like a realistic cornfield. So that's kind of how we do it. I'll show you the display here in a second of how we did it when we kind of built them all. Again, the display, these are corn stalks that are going onto that display, so it's not quite done. But you'll get the idea and see the potential. You know, you could make, you know, 10, 20 of these and kind of go to town on it. But that's how we did it. So you got the glue, the toothpick, the wire, the mix of all the material, and just have fun with it, right? That's why we do this stuff. You know, it's a great hobby, and the more creative you are with it, the better. This is just the base idea. We just started kind of figuring out how to do this. We didn't have any instructions or anything like that. We just kind of figured it out. You know, we saw what some other people have done, asked them a little bit about, you know, materials or something, at least pointing us in some kind of direction. But as far as actually making them, you know, it was something that we just kind of figured out. So if you got another way, a faster way, a better way, a cooler way, different materials, whatever it is, let me know in the comments. You know, I'd love to see your versions of this and what you think looks great and what we could have done differently, or if you like this one the way it is, we'd love to see that too. So again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the time, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.